Isn't actually, I'll just start with what I usually say all the time, is nothing can prove story doesn't exist. And the only thing that exists, story. Now, isn't it interesting that there's not a single religion, not one single one, that talks about the creation of story? Not one single one of them, not one single religion talks about the creation of story, yet they all use the only thing that exists, story. I just find that quite interesting to contemplate, that the only thing that they talk about in all the religions is the only thing they can talk about, and that's the story of their religion. There's nowhere in any of the religions that talks about the creation of the only thing that exists, story. Or, if you don't understand what I'm talking about, and you don't need to understand what I'm talking about because it's talking about itself anyway, so it's self-reasoning basically, but anyway, story would have to have been the beginning, because in the beginning is story. So why doesn't God or any gods or any religions or anything like that talk about the very, very first story? It's amazing, isn't it? Because how could have God or a God done anything without the only thing that exists? Have you ever thought about that? I mean, let's just make up a God, for instance. The God of tree creation. So the God of tree creation, and this is just a made-up story, what did it do? Did it go, "Behold, I have created all trees, and I am the God of trees"? Well, how did it create all the trees without having not first started with the story of, well, obvious creation and then the story of tree? Story is the only thing that exists, and nothing can prove story doesn't exist. Nothing can even prove the creation of story, because that would require story to prove the creation of story. Because how could it begin without being first there? It's almost like the chicken and the egg scenario, isn't it? I said that before. Which come first, the chicken or the egg? Well, the first thing that came was the story, wasn't it? The story came first. The question was first. The story was first. The answer is the question. Because the utterance of the question is the very first thing. It's interesting, isn't it? If you could find, you could put it in the comments for me, please, the creation of story. Not the creation of alphabet, because alphabet is story. Remember I talked about A, B, C, D that you started with in school? All the symbols that you were taught and trained with? Weren't they? Because they're the only thing that exists. Story. Nothing can prove story doesn't exist. It's funny because all the religions rely on the only thing that exists. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that beautiful? Every single last one of them. Even the cult religions. Even the evil religions. All rely on the only thing that exists. They have to, because there's nothing else that exists. And I would ask you to locate something that exists that is not story. The only thing that exists, story. Nothing can prove story doesn't exist. It's very simple. It's very ordinary. And the creation of it can never be found because it's the only thing that exists. It's the only thing that ever existed. You could argue that it didn't exist, and the argument would be the only thing that exists arguing that it never did exist. Yes, even the evil cults can only use the only thing that exists, and that is story. So there's nothing inside story, really. There's nothing outside story. Because how can you be inside and outside of the only thing that exists? You'd have to have something outside saying and observing the outside from the inside, or the outside looking to the inside, and the only way to observe something is to use the only thing that exists, story. It's amazing. It was right there the whole time. I think, with the only thing that exists. Unreal, isn't it? It is amazing that reading into whatever religion, whatever cult, whatever belief, whatever non-religion, whatever non-cult, non-belief, is the only thing that exists. All of it, every single last one of it, is the only thing that exists. Story. Amazing. I get that you're going to argue, but that's not the only thing that happens. I'm not talking about the only thing that happens. I'm talking about the only thing in existence. Because what is happening is being observed by what? What is observation? Still story, isn't it?